guys, Ronnie Calhoun here with Miss Lou Champion Spotlight. We are very fortunate and blessed and excited to have the lovely Miss Ora Reed, a Mississippi champion, in the studio this morning. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Well, thank you for coming. I know you're a very busy lady, and we knew you were in town, and we said we want to get her in if we can. So thank you for making time for us.
Oh, it's my pleasure, for sure.
For you guys out there, I know a lot of you probably know Ora. I said, "Well, do I call you Miss Reed?" And she said, "Ora." So
That's my name.
so I'm going to listen to you. So for those of you who don't know her yet, we hope that you get to know her more today. But you are a 2017 inductee into the Mississippi Musicians Hall of Fame,
Correct.
Mississippi Trailblazers Legacy Award,
Yes.
State Institutions of Higher Learning Excellence in Diversity and Inclusion Award, and then you're Mississippi's Cultural Ambassador. Is that correct?
That is correct.
You got a lot going on, a lot of accomplishments there, and a world-renowned musician. You've traveled the world.
A few places yet.
Yeah, I've seen it. I couldn't even spell some of the places that you've been to. So I was envious reading the bio. I was like, wow. So let's just start from the beginning, if you want. Let's talk about you and where you're from. Where'd you grow up?
I was actually born in the Mississippi Delta in Greenville.
Greenville, okay.
Yes, but before I was 2, my family moved to Lexington. That's in the hills in Holmes County. So that's where I grew up, in Lexington, Mississippi.
Lexington, Mississippi.
Yes.
What's that nearby?
Well,
I grew up as a Louisiana boy, so I'm still learning all the North Mississippi towns.
Well, it's just off Interstate 55.
Okay.
It's slightly northwest of 55, leading more or less towards Yazoo County and Leflore County.
Okay.
Good. It's
deal.
The beginning of the Delta.
The beginning of the Delta.
Mm-hmm. Okay. The very county line. You go down a hill and you're in from the Red Clay Hills to the flatlands of the Delta. That's in Holmes County. All of that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And what was it like as a kid? What was it like growing up in the Delta?
In the hills.
In the hills.
It was, my childhood was very different from most. I am an only grandchild with 7 aunts and uncles. They had no children.
Okay.
So everything was poured into me. All right. And everyone, when I say that, they say, "Oh, well, you were really spoiled." No, it was just the opposite. They were extremely strict. So I had to really, walk that chalk line all of the time, get the straight A's in school. And most of the people in my family were in education.
Okay.
Consequently, that was extremely important. At that time, Jackson State College had a laboratory school because you had a lot of people who were teaching who had not completed degrees, but they would come to JSU and take classes during the summertime and, working towards achieving their degrees.
Okay.
And the laboratory school was where they would come to observe how to teach. How do you do this? Mm-hmm. How do you do this? Well, I was in the laboratory school from age 5. Every summer from age 5, I was at JSU until 21 when I graduated.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
So you're familiar with the place.
Very, very familiar with the place because that's what. And I went to college there because everyone in my family had gone.
Uh-huh.
The ones who had gone to college, that's where they went to school. And so, of course, I'm the only person to go. So there was really not a choice in it for me, although I had been accepted at Oberlin and Eastman School of Music.
Okay.
But that was a no.
That's right.
Yeah. So, but that's education was what it was all about. And whenever any of my aunts or uncles traveled, they took me with them because they didn't have anybody else to take. So I got to go a lot of places as a child. I rode the train a lot. I love Amtrak today. I'll tell you my Amtrak story later. But I traveled a lot considering,
so you got
considering the times, I should say.
And you got to experience a lot as a child that maybe some others didn't get to experience. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, cool. I really did. And I'm so thankful for that. It was a real blessing for me to be able to have all of that, those experiences so early.
Yeah.
You know,
Helped you
helped to make me the person that I am
culture
today.
you a little
Yes.
before some people get to
Yes,
see that.
yes,
Yeah.
because not only was I traveling, I had the opportunity to study piano, violin, ballet, and clarinet.
Hmm.
So that was my
Yeah.
upbringing as well, and I was an avid reader. Definitely an
Yeah.
avid, had to be,
Yeah.
yeah,
I am today. I love to read.
yeah. I don't have as much time to read
Hmm.
as I'd like now. I go through periods where I'll just take time to do
That's
it,
how I
but
do it too.
I
Yeah.
can't read as often as I'd like.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So you started playing piano lessons. You started taking piano lessons at age 3. Is that correct?
Yes, when my godmother was a piano teacher and she'd wanted me to start. She said, she can do this. But my mother said I had to learn my alphabet first. And when I learned the alphabet, then I could take piano. So I learned the alphabet right away and I got a chance to start piano.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, did you have family members? Did you have a lot of family members who were in music,
No
or they
one.
were mostly
No one.
educators? No one.
No.
Huh. So you just.
Yeah,
It's
I
funny how
know.
that works.
It
It's,
is. It really is because before I graduated high school, I was actually trying to teach my mother piano. She had taken piano as a child, but it didn't work for her. But then she thought, well, okay, Ora Catherine is my name. She said, I'll let Ora Catherine teach me. And that didn't work out at all because she always just wanted to play a song. She
yeah.
didn't want to get the
She didn't want
basics.
to learn.
Oh,
That's
no.
right.
Oh, no. Mm-mm.
That's funny. So what type of student were you in school? Were you the shy student, or you the person in front of the class, or
Front row.
front row?
Definitely front row.
Were you the
Oh,
class
yeah.
clown? Were you
Never.
not the class clown?
Oh,
Okay.
no. No, no, no. Mm-mm. That would
Y-
not have been accepted anywhere. No.
Yeah.
I was very confident in my
Mhm.
knowledge because you see, by me going to summer school every year,
Uh-huh.
I had privilege to a lot of the things that were going to be taught in school prior to me being in a class where it was actually happening.
Uh-huh.
And so I would just listen. I did a lot of listening, and I'm still a really good listener. My
Mhm.
friends will tell you that. But I always knew that I would study and get the information that I needed because I wanted to make an A in the class. I mean, that was the goal
It was
for all
important to
of.
you,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, oh yeah. I think I was ninth grade when I got that first B.
Oh wow.
Crushed me. Oh, and it was one of those situations where the teacher said, the author gets the A, the teacher gets the B, and students do darn good to get a C,
Yeah.
but I got a B. But that was just that.
Yeah.
It was important to me to
Uh,
just get good grades. Yeah.
yeah, but you
Hmm.
were a confident kid.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
very, very. Hmm.
Tell us a little bit about the Amtrak and the traveling as a kid. Where are some of the places that you went and some of the experiences that you had?
Well, when I was growing up, there was a train, uh, the city of New Orleans,
Mm-hmm.
which would leave New Orleans and
Oh,
go to
Willie Nelson
Chicago
song.
and go to Chicago.
Uh-huh.
And as a bit of history, a lot of Black people got on that train between New Orleans and ended up, in Chicago, got on that train and ended up living in Chicago. So we've always had a lot of family friends in Chicago. And nowadays, when my school has a reunion, it's always in Chicago because that's where most of the people
Huh.
moved and
Because
lived.
of,
Yeah.
because of the train?
Of course.
Just got on the
That was
train
the
and
way to get
yeah.
out,
Yeah.
Yeah. And so they took advantage of that. But in my case, we had relatives in Chicago. So we would go every summer. And sometimes even in the middle of the year, like spring or something, because I had an aunt and an uncle there.
Okay.
And we would always go to visit them. In the early years, they had a train called the Panama Limited. It was exclusively a sleeper train. And I would go, and I had such a good time. I just thought it was so neat that you could get on, and you'd go to the dining car. And I always loved the French toast in the dining car for breakfast. And one time I was coming from Chicago with one of my aunts, and we were going to arrive in This is when before the city, and we were going to arrive in Durant. That's where we got off at 4 o'clock in the morning. And I was like, oh no, I can't have any French toast. But my aunt knew some of the people that worked on the train, and they fixed me French toast. So I had it before at 3 o'clock in the morning. I got to have my French toast.
Mm,
But that's when, I don't know, it was just such a different time for traveling. It was
mm.
just wonderful. You know, it was a luxurious time, really.
Yeah, travel was
It
different back
was.
then.
It really
Yeah.
was. And I was always fascinated with it. Even now, you know, you go on the train and your seats are there in your little compartment.
Mhm.
The seats are there. And then you get up and go to the dining car and have dinner and you come back and they've let the beds down and you're ready. You can lie in bed and, you
Uh-huh.
know, watch TV or whatever it is you brought to entertain yourself. And then you get up and go to breakfast the next morning, you come back and the seats are back. You know, it's nice. I like that
Yeah.
very, very much. And 3 times I've circled America on Amtrak. I've done that
Wow.
before. And this year, for my birthday, one of my friends gave me an Amtrak Rail Pass, which means in 30 days you can travel and not make more than 10 stops. So April will find me on Amtrak.
Wow. I've spent a lot of time on Google, like looking around on the Amtrak routes and stuff, and I think there's out on the West Coast. I think there's a
Oh,
Starlight.
Coast Starlight,
Oh my
honey.
goodness.
Oh, it's a
And
dream.
and I've got these plans, and I'm like, I don't
Do
know
it.
when I'm going to do this, but
Do it.
you think I should
Yes,
do it?
I've done that twice.
Yeah.
Yes,
Wow. Is it beautiful?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Glorious sunset. Oh, just glorious.
Yeah.
Yes. Hmm.
I mean, I've planned my route like 10 different times, and I'm like, well, I don't
Do
have
it.
time to do it
Oh,
yet, but.
that's the thing. Because it's been a while since I've done this,
Mhm.
you know, because I was working all of the time out of the country. And then when I would come in, you know, you don't have 30 days to devote to well, I mean, I wouldn't have to do that, but it still takes a lot of time,
Uh-huh.
you know, because
Yeah.
say from New Orleans to Los Angeles is 3 days.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I've done it, you know, but it's 3 days.
You just can't be in a hurry, I guess. Just
No, you
hang out.
cannot. And, you know, dear Amtrak, you know, we don't own, I'm speaking as if though I work for the company because I feel like I do because I've told so many people about Amtrak. But we don't own the tracks. So consequently, if something happens to one of the trains that owns the tracks, Amtrak has to stop and wait until this is corrected before they can assume travel on the
I
track
thought I
again.
read something like
Oh,
that.
it
Yeah.
happens. I've been on trains
Yeah.
where you sit there for 5 hours, but it's okay.
Yeah.
You know, you go to the bar, do whatever it is you want
Yeah.
to do, and just kill that time.
Well, I think
Yeah.
it's the mindset going in. You just have you
I'll
can't
be
get
there
on there
when
and
I
try to
get
be.
there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, don't plan anything around me. I'll be there when I get there.
Exactly, and
Yes.
that's a good mental space to be.
Makes life easier.
That's right.
Believe me.
That's a great mental space to be.
Definitely.
So kind of jumping back to music a little bit, did you love music since you started, or
Oh yes. Oh
so
yes.
so
Hmm.
so
Definitely. When I was in elementary school,
mhm.
listened to the radio, listened to a lot of R&B, and I could play all these songs that I heard on the radio. So when we would have school programs, I would be the one asked to play for all the big high school kids and everybody because I
Mhm.
could play whatever I heard,
Yeah,
you
that's right.
know. And I found joy in that. And I also would I had one aunt who would go to the music store and buy me the sheet music for all of the current
Mhm.
hits, you know, the Broadway musicals and that kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
And I would memorize all of those. And little did I know that would kind of lead to my career because I
Mhm.
memorized all of this stuff in high school.
Mhm.
And when I was asked to play piano and sing, which I had never done, and I said, you know, I have a lot of music in my head. I think I can do this. And that's how, fast forward, all of this came to be.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Who were some of the people that you were listening to as a kid that you
Oh, all of the
kind of
Motown
inspired you?
people.
Motown.
All of the Motown people, but I was a huge Dionne Warwick fan.
Okay.
That was
Yeah.
it for me for
Yeah.
regular pop music
Uh-huh.
because I just loved everything that Bacharach did.
Yeah.
In fact, Mayor Dan and I are going to do a couple of Baccarat tunes.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, yes. When I was teaching, I did teach music at one point
Did you?
in junior high school in Baltimore.
Hmm.
And at the end of the class period, I would always play and sing one little song for
Hmm.
my students. And it would always be a Baccarat number
Yeah.
because that's what I liked. Yeah.
And I was talking to somebody actually yesterday. We were talking about Motown, and it was just like, man, those songs are timeless. I mean, just
Even the production is timeless.
I know, and that,
Yeah,
yeah, even to be like the nerdy side, the studio side of things. I mean, it's just the production was just great,
spot on.
and it wasn't necessarily the technology that we have today and
No.
stuff, but it was just the. I
Mm.
I tell people we have more talent, we have more technology today, but I
And
think we have more
talent.
talent back then. Like,
Yes. Oh, you're right.
because they had
Believe
to be
me.
talented. I mean, there wasn't the hey, we're gonna play this 15 times in a row and we'll just pick the best one and then you'll play that and we'll put it out.
Hmm.
You had to go in and you had to do what
You
you
had to
do
nail
and
it.
yeah, and
Yeah.
there's not a lot of people that do that these days.
I know. I'm like that when I go. I've only recorded in Japan. I've done 3 CDs,
Mm-hmm.
and but always in Japan. I've never done. Well, I've never done really very much here anyway.
Uh huh.
But when I get
Mm-hmm.
into the studio, I'll say, okay, we're all professionals. We're not here to spend the week. We don't need to do anything 3 and 4 times. Let's do it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, bring your A game now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Dial
this is
in.
not rehearsal time.
That's
We
right.
are ready to do this,
That's right.
and it can be done.
Yeah. Oh
I'm
yeah.
always fascinated when people spend a year doing a CD. I'm real fascinated by that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I, I'm big in the country music world, and not I'm not big, but
I understand.
I'm
Hmm.
I love that world a lot. And Brad Paisley did an album a little while back where they just went in and cut it, and
Yeah.
he was like, whatever comes out is
This is
going on
what it
this album.
is.
So if
Exactly.
he told the guys, if you mess up, this is going on the album.
And
So,
so everybody brings
but
their
that's
A
really cool,
game.
though, you
It
know.
is. It makes sense. If
Yeah,
you're a professional, you should be able to do this. That's the way I see it anyway.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so your first, if I'm not mistaken, your first professional gig was at Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas.
Yes.
How'd that come to be?
I know.
It's a pretty sweet gig for a
It
first gig.
was. It was. Little did I know it would lead to me working in hotels years later. You know, I had
Mhm.
no idea. But I was living in Baltimore, and one of my really good friends, Bruce Westcott,
Okay.
uh, played at Caesars. He initially opened, in fact, it's still there. It's Cleopatra's Barge, and it's on the water. It's a little bar situation that's on the water, and the band would actually be there on the barge.
Okay.
Well, Bruce opened that, and he would play there 3 months, and then he would come back to Baltimore and play at the Pimlico Hotel. And we just became really good friends. So one time, I was president at that time. I was administrative assistant for a state senator in Maryland.
Okay.
So nowhere near music. And Bruce said, well, listen, I was going to go to Las Vegas for a weekend. That's it. And Bruce said, why don't you come and stay for 6 weeks and sing with the band? 6 weeks? Now, I had not been with the senator 6 months. And I went to her and I asked, I said, I've been offered a job at Caesar's Palace for 6 weeks. And can I get someone to fill all of my, responsibilities and do and see what this is like? She said, well, don't let me stand in your way. Just make sure you get Annapolis covered and get the office here covered. Of course I did. And
Yeah.
off to Caesars I went for 6 months, 6 weeks.
6 weeks. Wow.
And it was wonderful. I thoroughly enjoyed it, because you're living in the hotel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
living the life, living the dream.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And
What age were
especially,
you, if you don't mind me asking, at that point? When-
let's see. When did I work for her? 27, maybe?
okay, so you
Yeah.
still learning a lot about life. And,
Exactly.
yeah, that's right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because heck, I might not have been that old. I wasn't, because I had taught for 3 years and I had decided I didn't want to do that anymore. I knew I never really wanted to teach, but it was a way to avoid grad school for my family. I needed to be in charge of me. And so I ended up taking that job. I said some friends, I need something else to do.
Mhm.
And they suggested, I be an administrative assistant because I have those skills.
Mhm.
And that's how I had just only been with her 6 months. So I was maybe 25 when that happened.
Yeah.
And so I ended up doing that. And then I came right on back to work
Yeah.
to the senator's office after my 6 week stint at Caesars.
So tell me about that 6 week stint, in at Caesars, as far as what how did it change you up here as far as musically? Did it plant a seed? I mean, what
It
did
didn't.
it didn't?
It really didn't. I guess I'm sorry to say that it did. Nothing
Yeah.
really changed. I still had that deep appreciation
Uh-huh.
for the music because Bruce did a lot. He's an excellent pianist, and I always enjoyed how he articulated the keyboard. It was just
Hmm.
absolutely splendid. But they did a lot of top 40. Yeah, top 40.
Yeah.
That was when I first heard what that meant, because basically I've always been into jazz standards. I just love
Okay.
great lyrics that tell a
Yeah.
story.
Okay.
And so I was just kind of, I was one of the singers, one of the background singers with the
Yeah.
group. There were three of us, and it was just fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just
So
fun.
so you didn't get that itch, and you're like, I've got
No,
to do this. I've
no,
got okay. Yeah.
no. I don't
Huh.
think I've ever had it. But
Really? Yeah.
mm-mm.
So you seem very very grounded and just sort of go with the flow and
That's me.
yeah, yeah. That's a great quality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That way, when something doesn't happen, I don't get upset
Yeah.
because I know that that's not the path that I was supposed to be on at this time. I
Yeah.
think my early faith, embracing my faith at an early age
Yeah.
has placed me in that space.
Yeah.
So I don't get all blown out of the water because something doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I mean, my goodness, I was diagnosed with cancer 4 times. I never shed a tear.
Yeah.
Why am I going to cry about it? That's not going to help anything.
Yeah, and
You
that's
know?
something that I want to get. We're going to get to a little later
Yeah.
with that because I read that and I wanted to talk a little bit more about it. But jumping into the faith thing at an early age, I do think that that's so important. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that if kids, I see all these kids that are struggling in the social media world and
It's
everything,
sad.
and it's all about expectations and who you're supposed to be and
I
this and
know.
that.
It's really
So
sad.
it's nice whenever you find people who are just grounded
Yeah.
and they're good with wherever they're at and wherever they're going and they have faith that it's all
Yeah.
what it's supposed to be and that's contagious, whenever you meet somebody like that, it kind of radiates.
Mhm.
We need a lot more like that. Yeah, so let's talk about I was reading through your bio and all the countries that you played and everything, and I saw Carnegie Hall on there, and
Mhm.
let's talk about some of the whatever you want to talk about as far as the countries that you played, the venues or anything like that. What stands out to you looking back?
Well, it's really been a blessing for me to be able to go to all of these different countries and do
Hmm.
what I do. Um, you kind of just there. I play at luxury hotels.
Okay.
All right, that
Hmm.
I draw the line.
Okay. Yeah.
Luxury hotels because you get to move in and you're there for 3 or 6 months at a
Hmm.
time. So you need to be happy.
Yeah.
And I enjoy luxury.
Yeah,
So,
that's right.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I need to be happy. And when you're in these countries, they want you to be happy. So they make the experience wonderful.
Hmm.
And I think I worked in my first job solo after that little stint in Las Vegas. Years later, I ended up going to Rio de Janeiro on
Okay.
holiday
Okay.
and actually sat in at like the number one jazz club at that time, which was People. And the owner, I had asked to meet the owner when I went because I just like to know the owner of wherever I'm going. That's just me. I like to do that. And so when he came over and introduced himself, I said, "Oh, I told him, I got." And my girlfriend was egging me on. She said, "Why don't you sing?" And I said, "I'm not a singer. I'm backing off. No, I'm not a singer. This is like a jazz club in Brazil. Oh no." And she said, "Oh, you can do it." I said, "Okay," just like that.
Let's do
And
it. Yeah.
so he said, "Well, why don't you sit in with the guys?" I said, "Sure, okay." And I did. And after I sat in, he came back over to me and he said, "The guys don't usually like people to sit in, but they really enjoyed you." He said, "It would be wonderful if you could come and spend some time." and sing with the band. I said, when? And this was at Christmas, right? He said, well, whenever you'd like. And so I moved back in March.
Okay.
I
Wow.
moved back to
Yeah.
Brazil. I wanted to avoid Carnival. I didn't want to be a part of that. And because that's madness.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. I
I've
didn't
only
want to do.
seen it on
Yeah, it's
TV, but
madness.
yeah.
It really is. And but yeah, so that was a door that opened that I had no intention, of
Yeah.
doing. But I actually went to sing with the house band. That's what I went. That was my job.
Uh-huh.
And the way that the schedule was set up, they served dinner, say from 7:30 to 9,
Mhm.
and they had another piano player who played just for that period. And he was ill one evening, and they didn't know until like at the very last minute. And I just happened to be there early because I was going to have dinner. And I said, "Well, I'll play."
Is,
They said, "You play?"
is there a piano player in the house?
I said, "I'll play." They didn't know that I played because I just,
Yeah.
and I just sat down and started playing. And they were like, oh, okay. So, it's little incidents like that that make me appreciate my God given talent.
Yeah.
My uncle, who's a Baptist minister, used to
Uh-huh.
always tell me, you better use that talent. If you don't use it, you're going to lose it,
Yeah.
And it's little things like that that just kept pushing
Yeah.
me towards the playing and singing
Yeah.
concern. I don't know. I could have done it years earlier, but I felt that if you sat down at a piano and played, people wouldn't pay attention to you. And I don't know, I guess that was really vain of whatever, because I don't consider myself I don't really embrace vanity, but I don't know. I know how I felt once when I went to a Roberta Flack concert.
Mhm.
She sat there and played, but after a while, you kind of go on your own journey mentally. You don't necessarily focus
Mhm.
on where the music is coming
Mhm.
from. So I never just wanted to do it. But of course, now that's a different story,
Yeah.
because when I was invited, to come to Tokyo and do this, I was like, I can do this. Yeah. So
So did you go from Brazil to Tokyo after that? Was that the
no, no,
next?
many years.
Okay.
Nothing had, like I said, it's not been something that I was just pushing to do. Like God just opened these various doors, and I said, "Oh yeah, okay," and I
Yeah.
and I just embraced it and went for it. Because after Brazil, I moved back to Mississippi because I had two living relatives, and I
Okay.
wanted to spend some time,
Okay.
with them, and that's how
So
that brought me back to the States.
your
Yeah,
career certainly hasn't been linear. There's been just
yeah,
yeah, but that's cool.
it's been
That's a
fun.
lot
I've
like my life.
enjoyed
Yeah.
it. I've enjoyed it very, very much because I never thought that I would be in Mississippi, but I met Lee and Lisa Paris
Mhm.
in Jackson, and they are my family.
Okay.
Okay. And I met Lee through Mission, Mississippi.
Okay.
That's an organization that's all about religious and racial reconciliation.
Okay.
And he was one of the founders of that. And because of my relationship with them, I'm in Mississippi.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's saying an awful lot,
Yeah.
because a lot of my friends, how do you live in Mississippi? But it's good for me.
Yeah.
It works for
Yeah.
me. Yeah, it does.
So so tell me a little bit about the of all these places that you've traveled and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have any culture shock when you went anywhere that just kind of you were like, wow.
Well, I believe the place that had it wasn't so much culture shock, it was just like culture introduction, was when I went to Dubai. I worked at the Ritz-Carlton Dubai, which
Mm-hmm.
was marvelous. I enjoyed it very, very much. But I was so fascinated that you saw very few of the Emiratis out during the daytime, because it's so hot there. But boy, do they come out at night. I mean, you have distaffs flying from Lamborghinis. It's just very, very interesting
Yeah,
society.
that's one of those
Yeah,
countries that I've never visited, but whenever I see it on pictures and stuff like that, it almost looks like it's not a real place at all. I mean,
exactly.
it's just
It's different.
it's extravagant, I
Oh,
guess is the word.
extremely,
Yeah,
extremely. Yeah, it everything is just it has been described as Disneyland on steroids. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
everything. I think the one goal that Sheikh Maktoum wanted was for everything to be bigger and better and brighter and
Yeah.
yeah. It's a very interesting place. I
Yeah.
loved being there because whatever it is that you think that you enjoy, it's available for you.
Yeah.
The
Wow.
museums are wonderful. The racetrack, the golf course. It's just
Top
beautiful.
notch. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Huh.
Some of the most beautiful gardens ever. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to
hmm
put that on my list.
Yeah.
tell us tell us a little bit about your time. What country would you say? Would you say Japan is where you spent the most time?
Yes, and it's my favorite.
Tell us a little bit
Yes.
about your experiences there. And was it
Well,
Tokyo that you were, or all
I
over?
I first went to Tokyo.
Okay.
Yes, and I worked at the Westin Tokyo for 4 years.
Okay.
It was at that time that property was owned by Sapporo, the
Uh huh.
brewery, and in fact the brewery was their big head office was just across the street. But I got a chance to. I worked on the 22nd floor, so I was overlooking the city,
Yeah.
every night while playing, which is just wonderful. And I met a lot of interesting people from all over the world, and made relationships, created relationships, that are still existing
Mhm.
today. And it allowed me to really broaden my repertoire
Mhm.
because I would be sitting there. I like to look in the audience and see what's on their faces, and then that sort of dictates what I will play.
Yeah. You're
And
reading the room. That's
definitely
right.
reading the
Yeah.
room, yeah. And it would always fascinate me to see what requests. I'm not one big on taking requests. However, that I would allow, them to bring some requests to me. And it always fascinated me to see the songs that were requested by young people. You know, one time I got a request for strange fruit, and I was like, and I looked around the room and I didn't see anybody 40 years old. It was like, and so I asked the manager, I said, where'd this come from? And he pointed, this young man had to be in his early 20s. And for him to request a song like
Hmm.
that, it was just amazing. And it was one of those songs, I did it eons ago with the Niagara Symphony Orchestra. I found it very difficult to sing that song. And of
Mhm.
course, I just pushed it out of my mind after that performance.
Yeah.
But it just fascinated me that this person even was aware
Yeah. Huh.
that a song like that existed,
Yeah.
But I was
That's-
introduced to so many wonderful restaurants. There are more Michelin star restaurants in Tokyo than there are in Paris. So when you get kaiseki, which is really fine Japanese food, and French food together, put that together, it's the most beautiful food in the world.
wow.
It is. It's unbelievable some of the things that they do with food. It is. And I one of my jobs when I was back in Baltimore in television, I had the opportunity to review restaurants, and I had several friends who are restaurateurs, and I still
Mhm.
do. But seeing the different foods and the different levels of food throughout the country, it's just amazing.
Yeah.
It is. It is. There's nothing like it, really.
How did they treat you in Tokyo? Were you
Like royalty?
well received? Huh?
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
indeed. And I was blessed to meet so many interesting people. And my Japanese friends were always fascinated that I was able to meet these people because they were uh, important in their society. They knew of them,
Uh-huh.
but they had not had an opportunity to meet them.
Mhm.
For instance, one of them, who became a dear friend, just passed away last August. Madame Hanai Mori. She's a world famous fashion designer. Her motif was the butterfly. and that's something I've always loved. Okay, and
Yeah, it's pretty ring.
thank you. And I had seen some of her fashions in I want to think it was Vogue or Cosmo when I was in college. It was butterflies painted on white silk. Well, I thought that was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen in my life.
Uh-huh.
So when I got to Japan, I'd only been there a couple of weeks, and I said, "Ah, I'm Hori. I'm here."
Yeah.
So I asked the concierge to tell me, and they said, "Oh, yes, yes, Mori Hanai. She has a building over in Omotosando." I said, "I want to go." They put me in a taxi. They put me in a taxi with directions and everything because I wasn't speaking any Japanese. I did this like after being there 2 weeks. And I went to her store and I actually hyperventilated. I just had to sit down. It was so many beautiful butterflies everywhere that you looked. And so I went back to my hotel. I wrote her a lovely note and introduced myself. I said, "I'm going to be here and I would like to meet you." Give it the
Yeah,
old sailor's try. Two
that's
weeks
right.
later, 2 weeks later, I got an invitation to her fall fashion show. I was like, "Oh," and the hotel just went up because they had seen the mail and they knew where it came from. Our son got a letter from Hanamori. And I went to the fashion show, sat with the diplomats, and they all know each other, but they
Mhm.
didn't know me. They were trying to figure out, well, whose wife is that? And usually at a fashion show of that caliber, at first, let me tell you, Madame was the first Japanese designer accepted in Paris to have an haute couture house there.
Okay.
Okay, that's who
Yeah.
she is. Anyway, so usually at these kind of fashion shows, the designers come out with the
Mhm.
bride or at the end of the show. She didn't come out, and I'm not sure what she looks like. So afterwards, all these
And think
people,
about that. So at this
yeah,
point, you still don't know what she looks.
right,
Okay.
all these people, and my friends say I can always pick out the person that speaks English. So I saw
Oh.
this very tall gentleman. I said, "I think he will." So I walked over to him and I introduced myself and I said, "And I'm a special guest of Madame Hanai Mori." I said, "Would you kindly point her out for me?" He said, "I'd be happy to do that. She's my mother."
Oh
I was outdone. I was like,
wow.
"Oh my goodness, I chose the right one that time for sure." And she and I became fast friends. She allowed me to stay after everyone was gone. And we sat and had a glass of champagne after the fashion show.
Wow.
And fast forward, what, I guess maybe 5, 10 years. She designed the gown for my first CD, for the
That's really
cover.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So we really connected. Yeah, we did.
It's funny how you travel and you meet people that you just connect with, and
Mhm.
I've got friends that all over the country and in different countries that I just met randomly in different places, and for whatever
Sure.
reason we had a conversation.
Hmm.
Might be sitting at a restaurant at a bar where we're both in a town by ourselves or something, and
I know.
we just hit it off. And I mean,
Mhm.
it's just funny how that works.
It it
We're all
is.
connected in these weird
We
ways.
are. We are. And different people, of course, have referred me. So you need to meet so and so. You need to meet
Yeah.
so and so.
Hmm.
And and I did. But in Japan, it was just very interesting how my path would cross
Hmm.
and with certain people and get to meet them because I got to be very close friends with the empress, well, former empress daughter. The current emperor at that time was her brother,
Okay.
and most people could not understand how she and I are friends. In fact, I just talked to her last week.
Uh-huh.
But I think what I've learned over the years, you can meet anyone you want to meet as long as you're not asking for something.
That's right. Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay,
Yeah.
hey, this is just us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So just when I was finishing up my time in Japan, and this was something that I chose to do because there are so many American musicians residing in Tokyo.
Okay.
I know it's business, and when you really stop and think about it, they were flying me over business class, putting me up for 3 months in a hotel, feeding me and paying me a salary, getting someone to shop the visa and get it approved and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty expensive ticket.
Yeah.
When you can just pick up the phone and call over there and tell whomever to come and play for an evening, and it's none of that is involved.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I said, let me get out while the getting's good. I don't want to be asked out. So I decided, that this is the time to come back to America. And plus, I had a lot of older friends that I wanted to spend some time with.
Mm-hmm.
But Senator Wicker and his wife, Gail, were coming to Japan. They had run into Lee and Lisa Paris.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, oh, well, Ora, you're going to Japan. You've got to go see Ora, right? So, and show you how things work.
Mm-hmm.
He had a meeting, so she came to my hotel, and we sat and talked and what have you. And I had wanted to get a note to Caroline Kennedy, and so I gave the note to Mrs. Wicker. I said, if you would just pass this on for me, and I'll follow through on it later, because I wanted to send a magazine. I was on the cover of a Japanese magazine at that time, and I wanted to send her a copy of the magazine and what have you. So she did. And 2 weeks later, I got a call. She invited me to be the entertainment for her first Independence Day party that she was hosting at the U.S. Embassy.
Wow.
Yeah. So that, and it was so interesting. I said, well, I would like to invite someone, They said, oh, well, the guest list is complete. I said, well, may I submit my names anyway? They said, oh, sure. Giving me the old heave ho.
Yeah, that's right.
I sent Madame Hanai Mori and her son, the princess and her husband, and Reiko Yukawa, who is Japan's foremost music journalist. I'll tell you about her in a minute. And one of my girlfriends and her husband. I submitted my list. They called me back the next day. Oh, well, yes, we'll be more than happy to welcome your
They know you're going to bring the heavy hitters in. Yeah.
Exactly. And because, in fact, when Madame Mori had first heard that I knew Madame Shimazu, the princess, she said she was having a dinner show and I was entertaining, and she said, well, is there anybody you want to invite? And so I said, yes. I said, Madame Takako Shimazu. She said, and it was, does she really know her? It's that odd that you would get to know and form relationships with people like that, but they're just people.
Yeah, that's right. Everybody's just people, and
you have to accept them that way.
And one of the things that I've learned about you just from this conversation is that you, I say, not afraid to take cuts. In baseball terms, like you're taking cuts. You're swinging. I'm sure there's some misses in there, but you keep swinging.
Definitely.
You hit 300, it'll get you in the Hall of Fame.
That's it.
Just keep swinging.
And
right.
I think that when you're just matriculating through life, you have to be aware of what's going on around you, and just avail yourself to receive what's coming.
That's right.
For what's there for you. And you have to be willing to accept it.
Exactly.
Too. Yeah,
exactly.
You really have to be willing to do that.
So what you were going to tell me about the journalist?
Oh, Reiko was a part of the group that initially brought the Beatles to Japan.
Okay.
Now, she became very good friends with Elvis. Elvis never made it to Japan, but she came to America, and they were friends for the rest of his life. And the movie that was recently done, she was one of the consultants and supervisors for the movie.
Wow.
She gets credit.
I just saw it like last week.
Yeah. And when Austin Butler and the director went to Japan, she was their escort. And she used to come every year to Graceland, and she planted cherry blossom trees at the entrance. Yeah, but that's who she is. And everybody, like she was friends with Michael Jackson, Elton John, Cyndi Lauper. She did liner notes in Japanese on all of their albums. And Paul McCartney is like, he considers her mom. In fact, his last when he released that last album in Canada, he sent for her to come and be there with him. And Reiko is 84.
Wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Very interesting. You have a very interesting story. But I know you're busy, and I know you have a busy day today, and I'm gonna let you out of here in a second. But before I do, I do want to talk about something that really jumped out to me that we touched on earlier is that you're a 4-time cancer survivor.
Mm-hmm.
You want to just talk about that a little bit,
Oh yeah, I am a 4-time survivor, and that's just it, survivor.
yeah, that's
It's
right.
not something that people have asked me, why don't you go on the speaking circuit and talk about? I don't want to talk about cancer every day because I don't live that life.
Yeah.
I had cancer. I had breast cancer 3 times. I had mouth cancer, and I didn't have a sick day. I had radiation and I had chemotherapy.
Uh-huh.
But one of my friends had to remind me that I never got sick
Yeah.
from any of it. I just kept going.
Yeah.
And I do believe, I know that because of my faith and my attitude, that's what helped me.
Helped you get.
Yeah, helped me through it, because I didn't see it as a death sentence.
Yeah.
I really didn't. It always, I guess I've used this word a lot, fascinates me when I see, somebody say, "Oh, my life, my world fell apart when I was diagnosed with cancer." And I'm like, "But what world was that?"
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
really, it's unless you get the notice that you're going to die next week, then you go, "Oh dear, I got to do this, that, and the other." I can understand that, but I don't know. I guess, and I have such a support group.
Mm-hmm.
Because they wanted me to join various support groups after you go for the treatment. I said, "Thank you, but I'm overwhelmed with support right now."
Yeah.
I said, I had people praying for me on 4 continents,
Yeah. Yeah.
really. And they're, with them being strong believers as they are,
Mm-hmm.
and with my faith being as it is, I knew that it was going to be just fine.
Yeah. No matter what.
Right.
That's right.
It is. I definitely knew that. And, I must say this. I'm happy to be in Natchez.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let me
That's
just
right.
segue on over to this.
Yeah, that's right.
Natchez has always been my favorite town in Mississippi
Uh-huh.
for a very long time. I would come here as a little girl.
Mm-hmm.
We would come down for the General Baptist State Convention, which would be held at Natchez College, which was still a school at that time. So I got a tie to Natchez as a child, and then say fast forward 20 years, I was back. I was living in Baton Rouge because I worked for the president of the National Baptist Convention. I was there for 3 years. But I would come up here and visit Doctors J.R. and Frederica Todd. They were my dear friends. And I would come here and visit them. And I actually spent the month of May here for what was then the Opera Festival.
Mm-hmm.
Had a friend come in from New York, stayed in their guest house for a month, and we, were in Natchez having a wonderful time. I've always loved it. And now that I'm back in Jackson, and it's so easy for me, to come here from time to time, and having been invited last year to do the fundraiser for the Natchez Festival of Music, Dinah Glaze and I have become good friends, and my friend Terrell Williams has the Burn, so I have access, to come and go, and I've met the mayor, and we're going to play together. That's going to be fun. Right. So Natchez is just, and I love the cemetery here.
Yeah,
it's just
beautiful.
Oh, it is. It is. I used to just go there and walk through and read epitaphs. I'm always been very fascinated by cemeteries that have lots of all kinds of tombstones and statues and that kind of thing. Yeah, but I'm so happy. It seems like since the pandemic, Natchez is blossoming.
It's doing well right now.
Yes,
it is.
Natchez is blossoming, and that makes me very.
There's a lot of good energy here.
It is,
and there's a lot of positive things happening, and I think it's just the beginning. I think that Natchez is really going to find its niche here soon. That's just like takes us to that next level, I think. And it's not about size.
Oh, definitely
It's about
not.
quality.
Definitely.
That's what I
Hmm.
look at, because Natchez can only grow so much. There's only so many houses and stuff.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
just the
Yeah, it's not about that.
quality
Hmm.
of the people
The
who are
people.
coming here, and
Hmm.
the events that are happening, and the food that we're able to get to, and the music that people want to come play here and stuff like that.
Hmm.
There's a lot of cool things happening.
Yeah, I love it.
Our
I
mayor's
love it.
story is a lot like yours, coming to
Yeah.
Natchez as a kid and kind
Hmm.
of falling in love with it,
Yeah.
and then wanting to come back. And so you may be our next mayor. You never
Who
know.
knows? I'm staying away from
You know,
politics.
I do the same thing. Well, is there anything else that you want to touch on before we get out of here?
No, I just I'm really happy to get to share, like some of my stories have stories.
Yeah.
And the one thing though that I'm hoping that will happen at some point in my life, you say it's going to happen, but it's like, when, Lord, when? Um, I think I told you, I've never had management, and I've had to do everything myself. And considering the fact that I've been able to do all of these different things,
Hmm.
and everything is really detailed, which
Hmm.
I'm sure when you're
Oh yeah.
planning
Oh yeah.
something,
Exactly.
and I handle contracts and I handle scheduling and all of it, it gets to be a bit
They're
much.
all jobs. They're all individual jobs.
Totally,
Yeah.
totally. One of my girlfriends, who's a makeup artist, looked at, I told you, that magazine cover.
Mhm.
And of course, I did everything. She said, well, now, you had like 5 jobs,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
That's 5 jobs right there. And, you just get it done. I said, well,
Yeah.
thank God I know how to do these
Exactly.
things.
Yeah.
God has blessed me with a lot of different talents. I can sew
Hmm.
and design if necessary,
Hmm.
and I enjoy these things, but you can't do everything all at once. You have to take time and do it. Consequently, I'm pulling all nighters
Yeah.
a little too often.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little too often, but it's all good. So I'm just hoping that I will at some point get to uh, find the right situation where I don't have to be responsible for everything
Yeah.
myself. That's kind of what my aspiration
Yeah.
is and hope. Yeah.
It's hard. It's
It's
difficult. I
difficult
mean,
now.
I'm learning that myself now, and that's why I have Dustin and Juliana, and just on this project and in other projects that I'm doing,
Hmm.
I'm having to learn how to find smart, talented people to surround myself with,
That's
because
so
for
important.
so many years I tried to do it all, and I'm like, I'm
Hmm.
getting tired.
But
And but it's a challenge though,
it
and
is.
it's hard
It
because you want
is.
everything done the right way and up to your standards, and
Definitely.
that's
That's
that's the thing.
that's the real thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is. I wear hats every day,
Uh-huh.
and I will tell my friends, I said, well, I'm wearing the hairdresser hat today, or I'm wearing the stylist hat, or the wardrobe mistress,
Yeah.
or because it's a lot of different hats to make
That's
this
right.
to get this show out the door.
Yeah.
Not even on the road, just out the
Yeah.
door. Because presentation is really, really, really
Yeah.
important. Yeah. One thing that happened in Japan, let me just share this with you.
Okay.
Because of my relationship with the Shimazus, that's her name, she and
Okay.
her husband, their cousin had been installed as priest at a temple in Fukui Prefecture, which is where I ended up going every year after I stopped doing the hotel gigs.
Okay.
I met a family that owns a steel company in Fukui. It's a specialty steel company. They provide the blades for 60% of the high end knives made in the world. They've been here. I brought them here to Natchez last year. They visited me 5 times,
Wow.
come to America 5 times to visit me. They brought me 5 times to do a concert for their company. On one of those visits, I got a chance to meet that priest. He invited me to do a concert at the temple. There were about 200 people. Most of these people had never heard American gospel music
Hmm.
because I did a gospel concert. He asked me to open the concert doing Amazing Grace a cappella. And then we went from there. This temple was built in 1200.
Amazing.
So you can imagine it was an awe moment for me as well
Yeah.
as for those
Yeah.
200 people sitting there
Yeah.
listening, to this concert. But all of that came out of the fact that I knew the princess, and I told her I was going down to this area, and she said, "Oh, give him a call." I did.
Yeah.
I will follow through now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
I will. And I find that to be very, very important.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people that have met so many more people than myself, but they don't know anyone.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I got you on that, and I want everybody listening say that again, because that's
Yeah.
what do they say? Say it for the people in the back. I want you to repeat that, because that's important.
I know a lot of
Yeah.
people that have met many important people throughout their lives, but they don't know anyone. Because you have to have that follow through.
People move too fast, and people don't live in the present moment, and you can't get to know somebody in passing.
Yeah.
You got to slow down and just have a conversation with them, and you got to be present. That's one of my big things. You can't be two places, so just be where you're at.
Exactly. That's true. That's true.
Yeah. So I'm glad you said that, because it's something that I remind myself of often, and I hope that that somebody out there gets it, because your life is better. It's one of those things that you could do. It's a gift that you can give yourself.
Yeah.
And it makes your life a lot better, because you really start to get those deeper relationships.
True.
I'd rather have a few deeper relationships than a million shallow relationships. I'd rather be a river than a swamp,
Very good.
Hadn't
heard that one.
But good. Well, next time that I'm going to, the next time will be the first time that I'm going to Japan. I'm going to call you.
Oh, by all means, please do.
Well, I'm going to call you and say I got you a ticket to go with me. So
please do. I'll be your tour guide. You'll experience things that the average tourist
yes, indeed.
never gets to do.
I'm in. I'm going to say, look, I got you a ticket. What time you want me to pick you up?
Sounds good to me.
Well, thank you for coming in, and I mean,
pleasure.
Today was our first. We spoke on the phone a couple of days ago, but today was my first day to actually meet you, and it's been a pleasure. And
thank you.
I can tell why you've been so successful. You're a lovely person, an intelligent lady, and a hardworking lady, and somebody that I admire. So, and I'm gonna come see you. I'm gonna come see you this evening to play.
Very good.
Look forward to it.
Good. Okay.
So I hope you guys watching found this conversation as interesting as I did. What a lady, and it's an honor for us to have her in our studio here in Natchez. I want to thank y'all for watching. I want to thank all of our partners who make these interviews possible, that just kind of fall in our lap, and we get to share it with the Miss Lou and the rest of the world. So thank y'all to our partners for that. I want to say thank you to everybody watching this. God bless, and as always, have a champion day.
Nice.
Hey y'all, it's Juliana Wallace, and if you like what we're doing here at Miss Lou Champion Spotlight, make sure to like, follow, and share on all of our social media platforms. It costs you nothing, and it helps us continue to spread positivity all throughout the Miss Lou.
Hey y'all, Juliana and Ronnie with Miss Lou Champion Spotlight, and we're here to tell you about one of our awesome partners, Wardo's Po' Boys.
Wardo's Po' Boys was created in honor of Alan Ward Granning III, fondly known by family and friends as Wardo.
In 2019, the oldest brother of the tribe passed away unexpectedly. His remaining siblings and loved ones wanted to honor his memory in a special way.
In 2022, Ward's family decided to combine the need for a sandwich shop in downtown Natchez with the desire to pay tribute to Ward's love of good friends, good times, and great food.
Through blood, sweat, tears, and countless hours of hard work, Wardo's was born. So go visit Wardo's at 309 North Broadway Street in Natchez.
Where the Po' Boys are so good, you'll swear you're in Cajun country. Guys, Ronnie and Juliana here with Miss Lou Champion Spotlight. We want to tell you about our awesome partners, J.E. Hicks Distributing Company, also known as Hicks Chicks.
Hicks Chicks is a local, family-owned food distribution company that has been serving the Miss Lou since 1945. You already know they serve all of your favorite restaurants, but did you know they are also open to the public?
Hicks has a wide variety of food products, including delicious heat-and-eat options like chicken and dumplings, white bean chicken chili, lasagna, and gumbo. They also carry a wide variety of seafood options like shrimp, crabs, tuna steak, salmon, and catfish.
Don't forget about their famous TNT burgers that are already pattied up for you, and their amazing dessert options.
So go see the awesome team at Hicks Chicks at 1380 MLK Jr. Road in Natchez.
Hicks Chicks, way more than just chicken.
Welcome to your new hospital, Trinity Medical. Located in Faraday, Trinity Medical is the only acute care facility in the Tri-Parish area. Here you will find an active pursuit of holistic health, a strong, honest group of clinicians, and a consciousness of others that transcends the 80,000 square feet committed to you and your loved ones. Trinity Medical. People you know, caring for people you love.
Hey y'all, Juliana and Ronnie with Miss Lou Champion Spotlight, and we're here to tell you about our awesome partner, Natchez Heating and Cooling.
That's right. Our friends at Natchez Heating and Cooling are here for you. They make sure you never have to worry about your home's health or efficiency. They have an expert team who can take care of all of your AC, heating, plumbing, and electrical needs. When you need them, they show up. It's as simple as that.
So call our friends at Natchez Heating and Cooling today, and make sure to tell them you heard about them from Miss Lou Champion Spotlight.
Hey guys, Ronnie Calhoun here with Miss Lou Champion Spotlight. We want to tell you about our awesome partner, Dr. Greg and Greg Veterinary Hospital. Greg Veterinary Hospital has been providing comprehensive, reliable, cutting-edge veterinary services to pets in the Miss Lou since 2002. They welcome pets of all shapes and sizes who are in need of emergency treatment or who require routine medical, surgical, and dental care. Dr. Greg and his team offer a long list of services, including in-house laboratory diagnostics, digital x-ray, soft tissue, orthopedic surgery, dental care, extractions, laser surgery, laser therapy, preventative health, and wellness plans. And if you need grooming and boarding services, they do that too. So call Greg Veterinary Hospital today.